Welcome back to CEEN Caribbean News. It's now time to go in depth. Jamaica's appropriations bill was passed in the lower house on Wednesday, signaling the end of the budget and the start of government spending the $580 billion as promised. Aside from the much-anticipated $1.5 million tax break, which will see the income tax threshold move to $1.5 million, taxpayers will also benefit from lowered mortgage rates, improved infrastructure, and teachers have received an over 1,000% increase in study grants. The opposition had labeled the budget as unrealistic, citing in particular the tax plan, but a team from the International Monetary Fund, which was recently in the country for the 11th and 12th reviews of the performance criteria under the Extended Fund Facility, has lauded the budget as bold and essential. Many have opposed the budget, citing it being impractical, but with the IMF stamp of approval, have things changed? We explore now with trade unionist Keith Cumry, who is the president of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, and political analyst Kevin O'Brien Chang. Welcome to In Depth, gentlemen. Now, Mr. Cumry, we begin with you. What are your thoughts on the budget presented by the Jamaica Labour Party government and the goodies it offers for public sector workers, especially those relating to housing?
The public sector workers pay 1%. So if the minister had said no interest rate for public sector workers, we would appreciate it more. So the proposal that he made, yes, we accept the proposal, but he needs to go a little bit further. It was to lengthen the time of payment of the mortgage that the workers would have to pay less mortgage over the period of time. Because if I grant you permission to get a house, no deposit, and you get the house, then you will have to pay the mortgage. And it leads to the cost of the mortgage per month. Right? Working $12,000, he should say, the workers who work in $12,000 should not pay more than $4,000 for mortgage from NHT. Then we could, per month, then we could understand, or even $6,000, then we would agree with the Prime Minister. The threshold of $1 million, yes, we accept it, but he should find other ways. Like we have no complaint about the departure tax. If you can't buy the ticket, you can't pay the departure tax. If you can't buy the ticket, you should be able to pay the departure tax, right? That is my concern. But to put it on gasoline, then you would find, on petrol, not gasoline, then you would find now that the workers would have to pay more in not only transportation, but goods and services. Because if prices increase, then you have to pay more GCT on the goods and service that you needed. So we against that. Yes, we agree with the $1 million threshold. Yes, we agree to look down the road to abolish PAYE. Yes, he also should move the education tax because we don't see the benefit of education tax.
Now let me bring Mr. O'Brien Chang into the mix. Mr. O'Brien Chang, do you think the positions outlined just now by Mr. Cumry are fair?
You can ask for the moon, you know. I mean, you know, I think what Mr. Holness presented, most people have said that it sounded very reasonable. And remember that he gave a figure it's going to cost like $1.5 billion to the NHT. In other words, it is a reasonable amount given the NHT's how big it is. They start doing things just for the sake of doing them without balancing the numbers. That's careless. You know, that's something that we can't afford. You have to be within show some kind of responsibility. And if you start just saying, I want to make it no more than 4,000 just to please the public, and you're irresponsible, the numbers don't balance, then we're in trouble. I think one of the good things about the whole budget, the 1.5 plan, and Mr. Holness's things, is that they seem to have been very good for middle and lower income earners without being fiscally irresponsible. That was one of my takeaways. As I say, it's not just people say socialism and all that. Well, I don't think it's balanced. If it is socialism, it is fiscally responsible socialism. You're giving opportunities, housing opportunities to lower income earners, but without threatening to bankrupt the NHT. And it's only going to cost a limited amount, which can be handled. It's not just a wild promise. I'm going to promise you this no matter what it costs. Those days are done and gone with. We want all governments in Jamaica, I think everybody agrees, and whatever promises they make, we must be able to afford them. And that was one of the takeaways I think most people took from the budget presentation. It's good for the middle income earners and low income earners who are paying taxes. At the same time, it's fiscally responsible. And I think that was the IMF seal of approval.
Now, Mr. O'Brien Chang, what did you make of the closing presentation by Finance Minister Odisha on Wednesday?
Well, he has revealed some stuff which, if true, is very disturbing. The Ocean Hotel deal, the Naranda $5 million US check that was sitting there, or letter of credit, I should say. The Dr. Phillips and Mrs. Simpson need to give some fulsome explanations. As a Jamaican, I hope there's proper explanation that and this money wasn't just squandered, because you don't want to see how the public's money wasted. But as I say, Mr. Shaw has made some accusations to an extent, and we need some clear answers and quick answers too, to assure us that the public's money was not wasted.
Now, Mr. Comrie, the public sector groups' heads have maintained their discomfort with the budget. Has that changed with the IMF giving its stamp of approval for the budget?
The IMF don't matter if you pressure the working class in the country, as long as you follow their agreement that you made with them and you maintain that you won't increase the deficit in the budget. Because if the deficit in the budget affected, it affects the IMF programs. So whatever program you have with the IMF, they are concerned that their program maintained.
So, Mr. Comrie, are you saying that the budget will result in an increase in the country's deficit which could affect the IMF program? Because the IMF has not said that.
No, it won't impact the deficit because the government don't have to increase the GCT. You pay GCT and everything, right? That's affected by petrol. Because I asked some of the business persons, how do they see if they're going to give an increase in their goods and services? And they said yes. They said they have to pay more for transportation of goods to the rural areas. So they have to carry up their prices. And once the prices go up, the government earn more from GCT.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien Chang, most of the positions against the budget cite impracticality. Do you believe those views should likely change now that the government has the full support of the International Monetary Fund?
Well, you would think so. If we are under IMF strictures and IMF is essentially the umpire in the game, you have batsmen, you have bowlers, but the IMF really is our umpire. You know, if the umpire says not out, I think it's very foolish for the bowler to keep claiming out when the IMF has said not out. They've given their, approval to what Mr. Shaw presented. And I think most of the public will say, yes, well, it's okay with the IMF, it's okay with us.
And my final question goes to you, Mr. O'Brien Chang. When the Jamaica Labour Party was in opposition, it pledged never to touch the National Housing Trust's money following the outer money scandal. What should persons now think as the Finance Minister confirmed that the government will be dipping into the NHT's kitty?
Well, opposition will always say things, and when they get to government, it's a different story. But the question is, I hear the PNP saying things. Would the PNP have done anything different? Highly unlikely. Once that money is taken from the NHT, it becomes part of which party is there, it's part of what they can use to placate the public. I think that's how politics works. Once you get into something you can use, you're not going to give it up once you can try to get votes with it.
Thank you very much. And with that, we've come to the end of Indepth. Our guests are political analyst Kevin O'Brien Chang and President of the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, Keith Comrie.